The rain lashed at me, sharp and unrelenting, the moment the door slammed shut. I stood on the porch, my shirt clinging to my skin, my hair plastered to my face, waiting for the joke to end. Kira, my wife, had been laughing uncontrollably, her face flushed, her voice mingling with the laughter of Jenna, Bria, and Tasha as they shoved me out. "Let's see how long he lasts out there," she'd said, as if it were some hilarious game. I could still hear their muffled giggles through the door, faint but unmistakable, while I stood there drenched and stunned, convinced they'd let me back in any second. It was supposed to be a joke, they said. A prank. Something to laugh about later. But then the lights inside flicked off. The blinds snapped shut one by one like eyes closing on me. I pounded on the door, my knuckles raw from the wet wood, shouting, "Kira, come on, let me in." But there was nothing, just the relentless drum of rain and my own labored breathing. Minutes stretched into an hour. My teeth chattered, my fingers went numb, and still no one came. I kept picturing her face, those bright green eyes, that smirk she wore when she knew she'd won. I thought maybe she'd crack, feel guilty, and open the door with a half-hearted apology and a towel. But the house remained dark and silent, lifeless. Hours passed, and my legs trembled so violently I could barely stand. I had no phone, no money, nothing but the soaked clothes clinging to my body. I stared at that door one last time, the one I'd painted blue for her last summer, and something inside me shattered, not loudly, not with a scream, but quietly like a rope snapping. I turned, stepped off the porch, and started walking. The rain enveloped me, and I didn't look back. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I wasn't returning. Not to that house, not to that laugh, not to her. It wasn't funny anymore. It never had been. My boots squelched in the mud, each step heavier than the last, as if the universe itself were trying to drag me down. But I kept moving. The streetlights flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to chase me. I had no plan, no idea what came next. All I felt was this raw, jagged pain in my chest, a reminder how foolish I'd been to think she ever cared. I walked past our neighbor's house, the one with the yappy dog that always barked at me. But even he was silent tonight. Maybe he knew. Maybe he saw it coming. I didn't stop to think about what I was leaving behind. My keys, my job, my entire life. None of it mattered. The rain kept falling, and I kept walking, my hands buried in my pockets, my head bowed against the wind. I don't know how long I walked before the cold became a part of me. I passed a gas station, the clerk inside staring at me through the window like I was some ghost drifting by. Maybe I was. I didn't stop. I didn't ask for help. I just kept moving, one foot in front of the other, until the town I'd known for 10 years faded behind me. That night, out in the dark, I wasn't Reed anymore, not the guy who fixed the sink, paid the bills, or laughed at Kira's jokes. I was just a man walking away, leaving everything I'd built to rot behind that slammed door. And somehow, that felt good. The rain poured harder, hitting me like 1,000 tiny fists, cold and relentless. But I didn't stop. I didn't look back, and I never would. She asked, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. I nodded. He added, "You might need help." She snorted, tossing me a towel with a faded name badge that read GYM. Dishwasher quit last night. Stole a bottle of whiskey on his way out. You steal, you're dead. Start now. I didn't argue. I didn't have the energy. She pointed me toward the back, a cramped kitchen with a sink piled high with greasy plates and coffee mugs. I got to work, rolling up my sleeves and plunging my hands into the steaming water. The heat burned at first, but it felt good, like it was scraping away the numbness that had settled over me since that night. I scrubbed hard, the clatter of dishes drowning out the chaos in my mind. I didn't think about Kira, not her laugh, not the way she locked me out, not the friends who'd egg her on. I focused on the dishes, the way the soap slid off them, the rhythm of rinse, stack, repeat. Hours passed. My fingers wrinkled like prunes. My back ached from standing over the sink. Dolores popped her head in once, grunting when she saw the pile shrinking. "Not bad," she muttered before disappearing back to the front. It wasn't much, but it felt like something, a small crack of light in the darkness I'd been wandering through. The diner was loud. servers shouting orders, bacon sizzling on the grill, truckers laughing over their eggs. I stayed quiet, kept my head down, let the noise wash over me like it could clean up the mess inside. By the end of the shift, my arms were sore, my shirt soaked with sweat, but my hands were steady. Dolores slid a plate across the counter when I was done. A piece of burnt toast, a fried egg, and a strip of bacon that looked like it had seen better days. "Eat," she said, not looking at me. I sat on a stool in the corner. The food warmed in my stomach, and it hit me. This was the first meal I'd had in days that wasn't cold or handed to me in a line. It wasn't much, but it was mine, earned with my own hands. I chewed slowly, savoring the char on the bread, the salt of the bacon, letting it ground me. The diner emptied as the sun dipped low, leaving only the hum of the fridge and the clink of Dolores counting the register. I went back to the sink, tackling the last few pans, the hot water boiling around me. I thought about the next shift, the next dish, each dollar I'd save. It wasn't a life yet, just a start, a shaky foothold on a steep climb. But it was something. I'd walked away from Kira, from that house, from everything I'd known, and now here I was elbow deep in dishwater, building something new. The pain was still there, dull and heavy, but it didn't owe me any more. I rinsed the skillet, watching the grease swirl down the drain, and promised myself I'd keep going one dish, one day at a time. After I finished, Dolores handed me a few bucks from the till. "Come back tomorrow," she said. I nodded, stepping outside into the chilly night. The stars shone above me, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I was running. I was standing right where I needed to be. The diner became my world. Greasy dishes, scorched coffee, the hum of the exhaust fan over the grill. I'd been there a couple of weeks, saving every penny. Dolores gave me enough to move out of the shelter and into a cheap room above a barbershop down the street. It wasn't much, just a sagging bed, a wobbly table, and a window that rattled in the wind. But it was mine. I bought a second-hand coat from a thrift store, thick enough to keep the cold out, and a flip phone from the gas station, the kind that barely held a charge. I didn't give the number to anyone, didn't call anyone either. Kira didn't know where I was, and I wanted to keep it that way. I started using my name again, Reed, not hiding like I had that first night at the shelter. But I kept everything else locked up tight. No one at the diner asked questions. Dolores didn't care, and the waitresses were too busy flirting with truckers for tips to bother with me. I liked it that way, the quiet wrapping around me like a shield. I didn't talk about the past, didn't let it creep in while I scrubbed pots or mopped the floor. But one night after a long shift, I slipped up. I was sitting on my bed, the room dark except for the glow of that cheap phone, and my thumb hovered over the screen. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I was tired, maybe I was weak, but I typed her name into the search bar. Kira's social media popped up. Her profile pictured the same grin I used to find so captivating. My heart froze, a cold jolt shooting through me as I scrolled. She'd been posting poetry, flowery, sorrowful lines about loss. He walked off into the storm and never came back. The words dripped with a twisted kind of sadness, turning me into some tragic figure. Her friends were there too, Jenna and Bria, commenting things like, "We miss him and hope he's okay," as if they hadn't laughed while I stood outside in the cold. My stomach churned, and I quickly shut off the phone, tossing it onto the table. I didn't need to see any more. The past was behind me, and I wasn't going back.